Hey, Rolling 20 fans, this is G, and I'm here to tell you today about a new sponsor for our show, Casey's Irish Pub. This is an honest-to-God Boston or Chicago-style Irish pub located in downtown Los Angeles. They serve cooked food, 11 kinds of beer, and 49 different Irish whiskeys from 3 different distilleries. What does that mean? That means if you're looking for a good drink during a Los Angeles convention, you don't have to go far. If you're headed to Los Angeles for E3, Kamikaze, Anime Expo, the Los Angeles Car Show, or one of the hundreds of events happening near the Staples Center, then a good meal and a glass of Guinness is just a short walk away. Jeremy, the loud guy who won't shut up when we do our own podcast, he actually ate there during the last Anime Expo, and he said this. Forgive me if I don't sound like the guy. I went to Casey's Pub looking for a place to bring people for a good night of food and found it when I was driving people on my way back to the Los Angeles Convention Center. We went back and I had the best steak pot pie in my life down there. My wife had a good whiskey to sip, and 8 of us had fun talking and eating in a place that looked like it belonged in a movie. Casey's just a couple of blocks from the Westin Bonaventure. That means it's close to one of Anime Expo's own shuttle stops. We're even hosting a photo shoot there during the 2014 Anime Expo. If you want more details on that, email us at mspfreight@yahoo.com. Hey, so do yourself a favor. And don't stock up on bad beer and try to mix something sitting at the desk of your hotel room. Ride the elevator, get off at the Bonaventure, and walk to Casey's Irish Pub to get some drinks by their bartenders. Make some new memories and have some fun. We want to see you there.
Hello, everybody. This is Anthonyr from the Mission Star Podcast, and we have another episode of the Conover. This week, me and a few others will be talking about Super Sac-Con, formerly known as Sac-Con. And with me to talk about it tonight is Kris.
Yo.
And Mournal, which,
Hey.
for those who don't know, he's been the guy working the Google Plus page for us.
Yep.
But you guys. So it's funny because remember during the meeting this past weekend we were talking about the fact that you guys were both at Super Sac-Con, yet you did not know you guys were there or know that both of you were there at the same time.
The reason I suppose because I never met Kris in real life, so I don't have a good general image of what he looks like. So I just roam around the convention as usual.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, same here, and I mean, there's only so much time I could really spend over at the Scottish Rite Center as it is, so, I mean, at the times that you were there, it's possible that I was either outside or I was roaming around getting fresh air and stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, I think the one thing I wanted to ask about, now when exactly did SacCon change from being a one-day con to being a 2-day con is my first question to put out there.
Based off of how often I've been there, I think this is the second time that they've bumped it up.
What's the...
So...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, it doesn't seem like it's something that's, that they've been running with for a while. I think they finally, got the rights to, say, hey, we have a large enough crowd to host this for multiple days, so let's give it a shot and see how it works.
Yeah. I think this is their second time to do Super Sac-Con. I don't know, just guessing.
What was the general what has been like the general attendance numbers been, or like just from the looks of it, like because generally with Sac-Con, at least back in when I went, like it was generally pretty small. Like it was enough people for to have it filled out, but not enough, but like enough for just for that day. So for Super Sac-Con, was there enough attendance that to justify the 2 day convention than the 1 day thing?
I'd say that there was enough return attendance to warrant it, but the overall attendance I think came out to, I don't know. When I was there, I don't know if it's because I was there at 11 in the morning and through like 3 o'clock, but I'd say that there were only maybe like a couple hundred people there each day.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, the parking lot didn't really fill up like the other SatCon before this. So this one sort of felt a little empty at times.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was able to find parking.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys have been to previous SatCons in the past, but being this is a bit different SatCon than what we're normally used to, what was different this SatCon than last SatCon, aside from being a 2 day con?
Well, Mournal, I'll let you go first.
What was different about this SatCon was, oh man, where do I begin? Well, for one, we did have Bryce Papenbrook and Kristen Renton join us for SatCon. But the odd thing I found about this SatCon was some of the artists actually fell a little ill, so they couldn't really attend the convention itself, which I found a little jarring, to say the least.
We're talking about like how much percentage of the artists, like
It seemed about like half as much as, half as many artists as last SatCon. I was, it seemed like there was only about half of them there.
Yeah.
interesting for both days, or just like just for one of those days?
Altogether.
Hmm.
Like normally there's, I don't know, I'd say at least a couple dozen, and there was probably like 10, maybe 11 there.
Interesting. Huh. A bit curious the fact that they all got pretty sick, or but that's interesting.
Yeah.
What else was different this SatCon?
Well, if there's one thing that really stood out to me, it's that the vendors there seemed a little more aggressive in trying to
Interesting.
get you to buy their stuff. Like, I was just roaming up and down, and the general rule is if you're not looking at buying something, you put your hands in your pockets, and you look around, and if you have an interest in something, you get close, but if you're just looking around, you bend in, and you keep your... it's just basic body language,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like whether you were 2 inches away or 2 feet away, each one of the vendors like went out of their way to say hey, looking at something, why don't you buy something. I don't know, it felt really invasive to me.
Was this the case for some of the vendors? Was like how many people did you run into that were aggressive in terms of the vendors?
About 85%.
Wow, that's crazy. And these are like usually the vendors that are selling stuff, not like the other people that are kind of like your average Joe trying to sell whatever stuff they have in their garage type of deal.
These were actual, vendors. Like the guy who normally sells a bunch of different swords and weaponry and airsoft guns.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was there. You know the guy I'm talking about, the old Japanese guy.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So he was there. Once Upon a Game, they were there as well. Big Brother Comics, which I did a little talking point on for the SAC anime picture photo gallery that I made.
Cool.
Like they were all there, but everyone else, it seemed like they were just like they were smaller shops.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mournal, did you run into this Was it something you also noticed too when you were there?
About the vendors?
Yeah.
Not as much. Although, yeah, I kind of did get the same feeling that they were really pushing
Hmm.
for you to buy whatever things that you were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Since it seemed as if everyone just kind of went there just to hang out and not really buy most of the things that were there available from the vendors.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Interesting. That's very, very interesting. Um, so in terms of I have to say probably I guess when it comes to the other parts of SatCon that you guys checked out, or well, I know you were working there, but also like Kris over there checking it out. Um, what are some of the things that you guys like saw or like checked out that was either be it the video room, the video game room, and other elsewhere.
Actually, I was actually going to mention that because there was actually not as much video game like activity going on the stage. And the room where there were supposed to be more vendors
Hmm.
wedged between the hallway and the vendors hall, that was reserved for the Batman postage stamp. But the other thing about like the video game kind of like stage was they were also having like this petition trying to get the angry video game nerd to come here to Sacramento. And so far, I think they filled out like the first page, which was 60 signatures, and that was it. And what bothered me about it was the placement of where they put the petition for the angry video game nerd, because not a lot of people went on stage to see it, and it got overshadowed by like the whole convention floor.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So the video games that were put in another area of the con is now on the stage now.
Yeah.
And so okay, and they put it up there. That is in, hmm. So what was? I mean, I'm not sure if you have any inside baseball knowledge, but like, what was the decision behind that? Was it because the other room they felt was not cutting it for them, or was it just to have more visibility of a video game presence there?
I think maybe it's like since paired with the video games that were on the right side with Tetris, Brawl, they were also trying to advertise, Once Upon a Game. So when people probably are gaming, they could like check out any of the games that Once Upon a Game were selling too. Although not a lot of people were interested in buying.
I see. So it's more of a marketing ploy than anything
Yeah.
else.
Although they've done that for every single time that they've been there. They have a little section where you can play some old games, and for those people like myself, with the project that I'm working on, for those of us who are interested in actually owning retro games, then they have that whole section there. They also have a few different T-shirts, but I didn't get a picture of them this time like I did last time.
Just out of curiosity, because that stage can only hold so many people. Like at times, like was it like too crowded up there for people that were playing games, or was it like empty enough where it was fine at any given time that somebody can walk on stage and play a game and then walk out?
It always seemed empty to me. Like at most,
Yeah.
at most I only saw maybe like 7 people over, by the gaming section.
Okay.
So not exactly a big draw there.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. In terms of like the SatCon, I kind of been there in a long time. Do they still have a video room for anime?
They
No.
have it open, but the only thing is that what used to be a video room is now for lack of a better word, it's a lounge. And there were people who were just playing Magic and other stuff.
Interesting.
And reasons why I'm glad that I'm an adult and,
Hey. I play Magic on and off. That game is
No. There are 2 different types of Magic players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I know one demographic, and then I am not a fan of the other demographic.
Okay.
So just saying.
I see what you're saying. I've seen that before in my times. But okay. So it's more lounge. So it felt more. Well, okay, so let me ask you: was primary there people in that room playing card games? Is what I'm getting at. Was that majority of what the room was used for?
If you count 5 people, then yeah, sure. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, throughout the day, I remember there were some events that were happening throughout the day during Sac-Con. What was there any events that were happening throughout the day that was scheduled or planned during both days of Sac-Con?
Mournal, I'll let you have this one.
For the first day, it was obvious there was a Bryce Papenbrook panel, and then the Christian Renton one, I think. I think those are the only, like, 2 events going on. But I think the second day, one panel got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. So what ended up happening was the judges for the cosplay contest,
Mm-hmm.
they decided to waltz right in and gather a bunch of people and, tell everybody, like, this is how the cosplay contest is supposed to be like. So as the time rolled on more, then Bryce came in and then riled up the crowd even more. Like, yeah! And that was the only event that happened that actually went through. Because I think the one that got canceled was the one for Kristen Renton, which is kind of sad.
Mm. How is it sad?
It was kind of sad because, like, on Sunday, not a lot of people came to, like, see her, and by that is, like, you look at Bryce's table compared to, like, Kristen's, and there are a line of people for Bryce, no line for Kristen.
Ah, I see. She was being overshadowed by that person. That generally...
Yeah, so, like, I was going to say, like, for context, if you saw any of the pictures that I took for the, from SAC Anime for the autograph sessions,
Mm-hmm.
Like, there would be a large crowds for, say, the guy who voiced as Lee and the voice actress for, damn it, I forgot her name. Clementine.
Oh,
So,
yeah, her, yeah.
So, that they had their very, very large crowd of people waiting, and then there would be, Roger Bumpus, and, like, he only had maybe, like, 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that same sort of framing of people just, cut down by, I don't know, like, down to a tenth of that size.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just, I mean, tongue-tied here. The differences between the two, it was very obvious.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing that, I mean, like, as much as that is a detriment for her, there really isn't much you can do if you're in that position. A group of people are going to gravitate one person over the other, and that's at conventions that happens all the time. So I mean, there's nothing much you can really do about that. But that does suck. Not for case in point. The other thing I wanted to ask was so I want to actually make a comment real quick. So there's one thing always surprised me, and it is usually with SAC animes, and it's also with SAC-Cons. Like, I don't know how they do it, but I am generally surprised that they get like a good like amount of talent to come out for SAC anime and SAC-Con. I remember one time they brought like George DiMaggio, the voice actor of Bender, and
John DiMaggio.
Yeah, John DiMaggio. Yeah, they brought him out for one of the SAC-Cons one day to promote, because he was promoting his movie that he was working on, and I was like, holy shit, how'd you get him? And like, him, and then I remember one of the voice actors for Assassin's Creed, for Ezio, was there one time. And it's crazy that they like somehow managed to get these kind of like like I wouldn't say like S tier, but like these kind of like A, B tier like voice actors or the talent to come to SatCon or SatCon. It's crazy to think they can do it, but they do. It's crazy. Um, and getting back to the convention, so on both days, which day in particular felt more, I wouldn't say occupied, but felt more lively, more active?
I would definitely say Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
Mm. What's the on Saturday? What was the general consensus of like the just kind of hearing word from people about what they were doing, what they enjoyed, or what was the general mood you guys were getting from Saturday?
Kind of hard to tell, honestly. Like, for the people that I got to, that I was overhearing from, I mean, like, a large crowd happened to be, young teenagers, so
Mm-hmm.
they're not exactly as used to the convention scene as, any one of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not so much a matter of, like, oh, hey, this is really cool, but it would be even cooler if it was more like, hey, this place is cool, and, than just talking about, different fan bases and all this other stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. So much of these people that were attending, they were still kind of pretty new to the convention scene, or just kind of just there just to be there because friends are going and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. I consider this convention like one of the few starting points to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for people who have social anxiety, or they're just getting into the convention scene or what have you.
Yeah.
Like, it works out well for them, but for more experienced con goers, it's either a place to just chill and get away from the larger cons, or it makes you think, man, I really wish I was at Kamikaze, something like that.
Right. I mean, the thing though that I want to throw out there is like the guys who are manning SatCon are really making more of an effort if they're going to a 2-day system than they used to do for 1-day system, kind of justifying that they have a good amount of people to support both days and to gain revenue. So in a way, it's kind of weird to where it is generally thought of as a convention for people who are beginning to like go to conventions and kind of hang out with friends, but at the same time, on the other side, they're making an effort to possibly make this something bigger than where it should be or where it started from. You know what I'm saying? So, now I remember when we were talking about the cosplay contest. Uh, where was that held exactly?
Same room as always, in the second quote-unquote panel room.
I see. Okay. Um, did you guys happen to attend that, or did you kind of, by any chance, glimpse by when what's going on?
I don't know, like, when I was there, I didn't really see too many, I mean, sure, there were people in cosplay, but, like, I didn't really peg anyone for the, cosplay contest type, so I opted out.
Okay. Um, just in general, and speaking of cosplay, like, was there any cosplays that stood out to you during that weekend?
None in particular, no.
Okay.
Oh, actually, no. Let me detract my statement. There were 3 different cosplayers, 2 of whom I ended up getting pictures of because, I happen to be friends with them, and, it would be wrong of me to not get their photos. But Steve Martinez, the guy who cosplays as Captain Jack Sparrow at all of our California conventions,
Mm-hmm.
this was his first con back after his accident.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
And considering, what he's been through, I had the chance to talk with him for about 5 minutes, and, not really too much because I didn't want to, like, be too much of an external stimulus. But I was saying like, hey, this is the first time you've been back to a con. Are you feeling okay? He's like, yeah, I just wanted to come out here and get back into things. And he said that his skull's still pretty smashed up. So, the only thing I really could say is, just make sure you take it easy. Stay properly hydrated. Make sure to sit down if you start feeling a little dizzy, because I know that after a huge trauma that, pretty much anything that you go through is at least 5 times worse.
Right, definitely.
And like even a small social event like this can be like it wouldn't really be taxing to you or I, but because okay, so going to a little personal experience from my end, I was in a car accident when I was in 3rd grade, and pretty much everything afterwards was like nails on a chalkboard. Everything was extremely painful to deal with. So I figured that someone in his position, he'd probably be going through the same sort of agony of external stimuli. So the only thing you can really do is just say, make sure to take it easy. Just, don't overexert yourself. Just try and enjoy yourself, all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
And then as for the other 2 cosplayers, I'll go with their page names, Rukia Hitachin cosplay and Cassie Roll. They were cosplaying as Rin Matsuoka and Haruka Nanase from Free Iwatobi Swim Club.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
And so I got pictures of them.
Cool. Yeah, there's never a shortage of free cosplayers. At least I almost choked there. At least until until the next season comes out, and then you have a bunch more.
From what I heard, there is no 3rd season.
Well, just
Just like a special.
yeah.
No, because I watched it. I marathoned it this past weekend.
Yeah, generally there's an OVA when it comes to anime seasons coming to a close. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 3rd season, to be honest. So, but
I watched season 3.
yeah, nothing but just like hot men and just swimming. Yeah.
I did swimming for 15 and a half years. So you know what? I have my bias on that. They did a damn good job with actually portraying it right. I would know. I've had to deal with my coach getting us into Olympic trials, but I'm detracting at this point.
So the one thing I want to ask both of you guys, what were some of the things you felt that Sac-Con got right, and what were the things you felt could have been better with Sac-Con? And either one of you can start.
Well, I went first last time, so.
Okay, so I kind of where should I start? I kind of felt Sac-Con, I don't know, like it could have been better if it just stuck to a 1 day, because their plans later on, if you haven't heard recently, is that they're actually moving Sac-Con to the what was that called? To like a new place. It's a bigger place. It's up in, I think, Citrus Heights.
Whoa.
And
okay.
yeah.
Huh.
My house? Shit.
No. I forgot what it was called. If I can find
Hmm.
where it was is. But other than that, I kind of felt like their guests, like, I kind of felt Kristen Renton was sort of out of place
Mm-hmm.
in the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they should have chosen, like, alongside with Bryce, probably, like, the voice actor of Mikasa
Mm-hmm.
from Attack on Titan.
Right.
Like, that would have, like, attracted a lot more attention. I think that's how it would have worked even more.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, I suppose what they could have done right is, I don't know, they could have just just keep it to like Sunday.
Right.
Like that's it. And that's all I gotta say.
Okay. It definitely does sound like this convention is better suited for one day than they're trying to expand for a 2-day type of deal. Added some breaking news stuff though, like it's moving to Citrus Heights. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's next year.
Next year. Oh wow. So was there any just to kind of follow up on that? So was there any word on why exactly they're moving there aside maybe like a bigger venue or why particular there?
The reason why there is because we've kind of like overpopulated the space that the Scottish Rite Center has.
Hmm.
But I guess that was from looking at like, the previous Sac-Cons that were just on one day, and the floors would be so crowded, and people trying to like move back and forth down the aisles.
Hmm.
So I guess when they looked at that, and I'm sort of guessing that their opinion is gonna sort of change after like Saturday and Sunday's previous Sac-Con,
Right.
that I'm guessing they're gonna probably rethink about like moving.
Right. Because the thing is though is like where it's located and then where Citrus Heights is located is a big move. It's not particularly the smallest distance ever, but that's particularly a big move. And I do generally agree. I think that the fact that they should stick to a 1-day convention, if they're basing off of the numbers from previous SatCons to justify the move, and then seeing what happened with this previous one, I think is something that you really look at before making that decision. Because moving to Citrus Heights, I want to say that it's with that kind of move that it could really affect how SatCon is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll attract more people to come to there, but Citrus Heights is pretty. That's in North Sac, right? Or is that
Actually, it's here, I got the pamphlet. It's at the McClellan Conference Center.
Mm-hmm.
Around March.
Interesting.
Yeah, the what was it, the air base?
My only guess is that maybe they made enough money to kind of justify that. Maybe I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's some interesting stuff. Kris, what are some of the pros and cons of SatCon for you?
Well, I do want to point out that my statements might be reflected as a part of a bias, so take that into consideration.
Well, I mean, like to be honest, we're talking about our experiences at a convention, so of course there's going to be some bias.
Yeah, I know. It's just normally I always put in a good positive note when I'm talking about SatCon because it's where I got to start, and I acknowledge its flaws and I acknowledge its its positive aspects.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the convention as a whole, I think it's severely outworn its welcome with the Scottish Rite Center.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at this point, I have been there for, Christ, almost, it's going on 12 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I've dealt with that particular place for way too long, and I know that they've done it there consistently. I figure that if they are moving over to McClellan, thank God, because after some point you have to figure, okay, you need to go to a different area.
Right.
And considering that I'm going to be attending Sac State, I don't know, it seems a little weird in a reflective sense, thinking like, oh yeah, this is right next to my school. It used to be cool, and now it's not so much. But moving past that aspect, when it came to the convention as a whole, it's still trying to move itself past a hurdle, but it's like trying to get a turtle to climb up a rock. It'll happen eventually, but it's going to be very slow. When it came to personal sites that I thought were really cool, there was an artist there who goes by the name of, let's see, just want to make sure, Yeah, so his name is Christopher Williams, and he was doing a lot of oil-based paints, or paintings, and he has quite a few pictures there. One of my personal favorites was the picture of an elephant where its ears turn into butterfly wings. And, I mean, his artistic style is absolutely fantastic. And he was working on a picture of Storm from... well, I mean, you've seen the costume that she has in Ultimate Marvel vs. Super Capcom 3. So, that iteration.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
And I'll have those photos up soon. So, I mean, I thought, just seeing all of his work, it was just really impressive. And, like, to me, his presence there was a reflection of what I was kind of expecting with a convention. Being there, having a good time, doing your thing, and hoping that other people enjoy it.
Gotcha.
And secondly, when I was in the artist alley, I had the chance to talk with the woman who was running the Blackjack Comics booth, and I thought that their concept was pretty interesting. It's I mean, it's all run by veterans, so it's giving them some form of occupation. And I was given a copy of Volume 1 of their new comic series called The Last Pendragon, and it's a pretty interesting little story, but I'm not really that used to going with the American formats. So, like, only having, 20 pages to work with, I mean, it's really hard for me to, put down, anything, positive or negative towards it, but the premise for the story is pretty interesting.
Right.
So, for anyone listening to this, I'd recommend giving them a look-see, taking a look at what they have. They also happen to have another comic series which looked pretty promising called Phantom Hawk. So, I mean, I have a feeling I probably would have liked that one a little better, just based off the art style, but at this point, I can't really say anything solid.
Okay. So, this is what I just kind of thought of as we were talking, Chris. If, and I'll put this up to you, Mournal, as well, is, Sac-Con, first I want to say, Sac-Con has always been in that place for as long as I've been there, and that was back in 2006. So it has been there for eons. And I do agree that eventually you have to move to another place. For the sake of just having a fresh new feel and a new look. But also, after a while, some people who have gone there for years probably want something different. But my real question is, now, their bread and butter is SAC anime. Let's get that point out in the open. But do you feel that Sac-Con is a detriment to the Sac-Con SAC anime series, if you will? That maybe not having Sac-Con would be better for them and have focused all their money or attention to SAC animes instead?
Ooh, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
I'd say that. Have you ever heard of the phrase "necessary evil"?
Yes.
So, in this sense, I believe that Sac-Con is absolutely necessary because of the fact that it provides a starting point for people to get into conventions. And I figure, if they're not impressed with it, or if they are impressed with it, then it opens up the door to say, hey, I want to check out something bigger. I want to check out something that's better. And, they do have that option. Also, by having Sac-Con, it gives other shop vendors and artists an opportunity to, showcase their wares in a place that they normally wouldn't be able to show off their stuff. And as it was pointed out to me, getting into SAC anime is extremely difficult. And if you give up your spot for, Winter Con or Summer Con, if you give up your spot as a vendor by saying, I don't have the funds to cover this, or I can't do this now, then you are SOL when it comes to getting another spot. So
Right.
Like, having that for the sake of consistency works out really well for the vendors because it provides them with a venue to where they can always have a place to sell their stuff.
Right. I think I agree with you, but when it comes to conventions, like it is also a business at the same time. Um, and I feel that like honestly I would feel better if they took away Sac-Con and then maybe incorporated the Sac anime or just get rid of it altogether and incorporate whatever money funds they have from Sac-Con to use towards Sac anime because after a while, like you have to put enough money and resources um to produce SatCon like every 2 months. And I know they have other affiliate cons like Bach Anime, and other conventions that are kind of like these tentacles to the main Sac Anime circuit in Sacramento. But I feel that maybe I mean, if they're making enough money, then, cool, awesome. I may not know exactly how much money they're making off these SatCons or these other small conventions, but if they're making enough money to keep them going, then it's cool. Or they're making so much money at Sac Anime that they can do Sac Anime in these other conventions to gain more money, then that's totally cool on them. But personally, how I feel about having SatCon around for a while, I think that maybe they should use those resources for another, put it to Sac Anime and make Sac Anime with more funds to maybe get more guests or to kind of work on a few things to kind of make that better. But I'm not the one in charge, so I can't really say. I'm just voicing my opinion.
Well, let's put it this way. If I can give you a visual of like how I think of the convention versus how I feel that it should be,
Mm-hmm.
it's like comparing a Dollar General to a shopping mall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both avenues are, accessible to all people, but you know that with the Dollar General, you're getting base things. It's just, I mean, it is as basic and as cheap as you can go. And then if you compare it to a shopping mall, you have everything, you have basically every single thing that you could look for in various price ranges. It's just that you wouldn't expect to put a shopping mall in, say, where can I say that's not offensive?
Right.
But you kind of get what I'm getting at, though, right?
I get
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I do everybody has to start somewhere, but
It's like it's necessary because, you have that venue for those who can't go to the bigger things, but at the same time, it's devaluing at the same point.
yeah,
So, while personally, I think that SatCon would be better off just being incorporated as a part of Sac Anime and just, say, okay, we've had our run, but it's over. I mean, I would be totally fine with that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But,
same.
but when it comes down to working out with what sort of impact that it actually makes and to, what it means for some people, that at the same time I think it does deserve to stay. It's just that, I don't know, I feel like it really needs to spruce itself up before I can say, you know what, I'm cool with going to SatCon. Otherwise, it's more like, let's see how they've changed. And
Right. What do you?
Well,
What are your what are your thoughts, Mournal?
well, for me, I always feel like SatCon happens a little too frequently, rather than like, oh, for Sac Anime, it's like, oh, we gotta wait for the summer, and we gotta wait for the winter, and then after the winter, we gotta wait for the summer, which is a lot of time in between. But for SatCon, there was, I think, two so far this year, and they're gonna have another one, which is their third, in December. So that's like 3 SatCons in one whole year. So then, in a way, I can sort of understand, like, I'm kind of tired. Like, I feel like they're pushing SatCon a little too much to get it, like, they just need people. But at the same time, SatCon kind of, like, provides that, oh, I'm not really into anime, but I'm more into comics. So Sac-Con's kind of like my new haven for whatever comic book artist I'm more likely interested in, whether it be DC or Marvel, whatever. It kind of like provides, just that certain crowd that Sac Anime wouldn't really grip on, but Sac-Con will, if you
Right.
catch him adrift.
Right, definitely. Because generally, I mean, I think outside of the Wizard World comic book convention that has been freshly new to Sacramento, Sacramento is generally known as a anime convention town. There hasn't been many comic book conventions at all, except for the Wizard World one. And
Yeah.
SatCon is kind of a merger of the two, but it's more or less a kind of a celebration of all things nerdy, not particularly one particular, fandom like anime or comic books. Like you see other stuff there as well. Um, but yeah, I definitely see what you're getting at. Yeah, I think that we can talk for this for hours, but I think in due time, because like in due time, we'll have to see how the future of SatCon goes, see where exactly they're gonna keep going with it, and see like the general reaction attendance of these conventions. And one more point before I start to close this out, I do agree with you, Mournal, that the fact that they are pushing SatCon a bit much, that they're having more SatCons than they should have, and they really should apply the kind of what's the word looking for? It's less is more. Like keep them wanting more. That type of mentality, I think, would
Yeah.
would be more beneficial for SACON than I think it is right now. But thank you guys for joining me on this in-depth this discussion of SACON and everything about it. Um,
You're welcome.
Before we go, Kris, where can they find you on the internet?
Well, you guys can find me on Mission Start Podcast, where I do happen to have a little project that I'm still working on. Ended up coming up across a few snags. So for those of you who've tuned in a while back and saying like, "Oh yeah, I'll have it up in a couple weeks," some stuff kind of came up. So sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But I will happen to have a photo gallery for SatCon up by no later than Friday. So there is
Okay.
that.
Cool.
And that will be all in one little page. So I'm sure that you guys saw that SAC anime stuff. It was bundled into whole different categories. Not so much with this con, just because there really wasn't as much to photograph. So
Yeah, it was really small.
yeah. So I mean, you'll see that. Like I said, within this week. My project, I'm not sure how long it's going to be at this point, just because of what snags there have been. I need to go counsel with a couple other associates. But aside from that, because I know I'm rambling at this point, you guys can find me at kazcosplay.tumblr.com, and I have recently reactivated my Facebook page, so that can be found as Kaz Cosplay.
Awesome. Cool.
Cool.
Mournal, where can they find you on the internet?
Hey guys, you can actually find me at let me go to my profile. At Google Plus, Mournal Really Raza, or I can go by Roll054. Also, since you've already stated earlier in the podcast, I'm also the manager of the Mission Start Podcast Google Plus page, so, tag us if you want, hashtag, whatever.
Awesome. And you can follow me personally on Twitter at Naruto. You can follow the work that me and the rest of us do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. This podcast will be, by the time you listen to this, it'll be Friday. It'll be the week before Halloween, and every cosplayer still trying to figure out what to wear for Halloween. But yes, aside from that though, we'll look for future stuff. We got some reviews coming along the way. as well as new video content and other cool stuff that's coming along way. Especially my type of thing that I've not told anybody yet, really. So, anyways, with that, we'll bid you all adieu, and we will see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is Anthony Be Honest from the Mission Start Podcast, and if you enjoy listening to this podcast, as well as our other ones on our website, you can now hear us on Stitcher. You can now hear our show as well on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio, on-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes always available for you, no syncing needed, and no money or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher, Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.